Hi everyone. So here's the second part of the value scale or the value and temperature scale using earth tones, so neutrals. We're using titanium white, yellow ochre, Mars red, and cold black as a replacement for ivory black. So I'm going to start mixing. I'm going to follow the same process as the previous two demos. And once again, the goal in terms of doing this is for you to not just notice the differences in color and the range that's possible, but for you to pre-mix these colors and use them for the painting that you work on, okay? So this is not just an exercise for the sake of exercise, but to actually set up a color palette before you start the painting. So it gives you access to, or helps you begin to start thinking about temperature, warm and cool, as opposed to local color. And we'll talk more about that in the lectures and how these colors can be utilized. Okay? All right, so I'm just going to get going. Start with so one of the ways I'm going to do this is I'm going to create like a scale going straight across. So instead of mixing yellow and the black together, what I'm going to do is make a couple steps between the yellow and the red, and then from the red to the black. This is not necessarily the only way of doing it, because as soon as you introduce three, there's different permutations, right? So you can have mixtures between the yellow and the black will give you something, and from the yellow and the red, it'll give you something. And actually, let's do this. I'm going to take this. So what I did is I put the black over here, and I'll tell you in a second why I did that, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to simply mix. I'm just going to make one step between these colors, just for time's sake, okay? So here, I'm just going to bring these colors down. So I'm bringing the yellow ochre straight down. I'm mixing a color that can sit somewhere in between those two. I think, yeah, the yellow ochre is probably one of the weakest colors in the mixture over here, in these hues. What I mean by weak is that whatever you mix into it takes over. So notice when I mix that red into the yellow ochre, the red very quickly took over. And it brings that straight down here. This is quickly telling me that the red is the most pigmented out of all these colors right now. I'm going to put this here. I think this could still be, I'm going to get rid of this for a second. Back over here, and then similarly, we'll make a between the black and the yellow over here. Okay, so the reason I did this, the reason we have black twice, is the black allows us to mix with the yellow and get green. The black allows us to mix with the red and get close towards the purple. And then the red and the yellow, or the ochre and the sienna, allows us to approach an orange. So what we're trying to do is, even though we're using a limited palette and earth tones, we're still trying to get a full, get close to a spectrum, which is primaries and secondaries. And you really begin to notice the possibility when, once again, we do a drawdown. Okay. Now, some people, when they paint, they kind of will literally do this. So when they're painting and they're going and they're looking for equivalencies, when you are able to see the color and its potential, its tint potentials, it's much easier to imagine using them. It's similar to, when you lay out your colors, it's always a good idea to lay out a full palette as opposed to just putting out colors that you think you're gonna use or think that you see in front of you if you're working from life. Okay, so notice how, I'm gonna move the camera for a second, right there. So you can kind of see really the green, the yellow, the orange, the red, which pushes towards almost like a pink, a cooler red, kind of an earthy violet over here, and then the bluish black over here. Okay, so ideally, after you do this, you start the painting and get going. Okay, so as a whole, this process should take probably no more than 10 minutes, maybe 20 at the most. Okay, once again, don't be overly worried about getting even intervals between the initial primaries. The goal is to just get as much range as you can between these first three colors you're working with, which are in this case, was the red, the ochre, and the black over here. Okay? All right. Happy painting.